Greetings and welcome to the United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon. My name is Gennady Stolyarov II, and I am the chairman of the US Transhumanist Party. Here we hold conversations with some of the world's leading thinkers in longevity, science, technology, philosophy, and politics. Like the philosophers of the Age of Enlightenment, we aim to connect every field of human endeavor and arrive at new insights to achieve longer lives, greater rationality, and the progress of our civilization. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our US Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon of November 5th, 2023. There have recently been immense developments in the field of AI governance, as well as in the related area of AI safety. And just over the past week, there have been some major actions, both within the United States and at an international level, that are of great relevance to transhumanism, as well as to anyone who is interested in technological progress and how technology is going to impact our society. So today, I am pleased to dedicate our Virtual Enlightenment Salon to these subjects. And joining us, we have a panel of our US Transhumanist Party officers, including our Director of Citizen and Community Science and 2024 US Vice Presidential candidate, Daniel Tweed, and our Director of Longevity Outreach, Ben Ballweg. And our special guest today is a returning guest to our Virtual Enlightenment Salon, Didier Coeurnelle. He is the Vice President of AFT Techno Prague, the French Transhumanist and Techno-Progressive Association. He is also the co-chair of HEALS, the Healthy Life Extension Society, an association that promotes a much longer life in good health. This association organizes international conferences and publishes a monthly newsletter entitled The Death of Death. So, Didier, welcome. You have quite a thorough presentation in store for us, so please begin.
Yes, thank you, Gennady. And I would say what's happening now is really important for each citizen of the world. You know, it's really, and this is the first time ever that the international community is following so much questions related to artificial intelligence. And I think this is something globally positive. And also, like you said, there were many things happening just the last weeks and even just the last days. So that's why the first thing I want to warn, I will speak about many texts, but I had even not enough time yet to read everything, and certainly not enough time to understand anything. So please don't hesitate to correct me, but still I will do my best to describe what's happened this last, the last, once again, days and weeks and months concerning AI regulation at the global level, the importance, the advantages, and the risk of this. And first, I will begin with a list of the texts and initiatives from state organizations. This is the first big part of this small presentation that I will do. So the first one and the most important one and the most recent one is the Bletchley Declaration by countries attending the AI Safety Summit that happened just 3-4 days ago, finishing November 2 in London in the Bletchley Park. The Bletchley Park is the park and the place where Alan Turing was working during World War II. So this declaration is a declaration signed by 28 countries, well, countries and the European Union. It's not a country, but a federation of countries. So it's, I would say, the big countries except Russia. So USA, European Union, China, India, but also many others, Kenya, for example. Okay, so you have there not all the text because it's very long, not even all important aspects because that all would be too long, but some aspects that I want to especially underline. So yeah, the declaration is beginning with this. We are especially concerned by risk risk related to AI, of course, cybersecurity, biotechnology, also what they call frontier AI systems. So actually, this text is about the first time that they were speaking, it was more only about long-term risk, but after discussions, they were speaking also about, let's say, short-term and less long-term risk. So, and they want to support an internationally inclusive network of scientific research on frontier AI safety. Including existing international fora and other relevant initiatives. So the idea is really to work together at the international level, thanks to the initiative of the Prime Minister, the UK Prime Minister. And yeah, on each slide, you have the link to the page where you can find the full text. Also, very, very important is the fact that at the UN level, there is an initiative to create a high-level advisory body on AI with 39 experts from all over the world. One of these experts is Jan Tallinn. The full list is there. You have also the link. Maybe after this meeting, or maybe at one moment, if it is easy for you, Gennady, you can maybe copy paste the links. Otherwise, I will do it during the conversation. I will try to do it during the conversation in the chat. So the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that the transformative potential of AI for good is incredibly important, but that there are also big risks, and he's creating this high-level advisory body to create recommendations, and they will be used for something that's called the Summit of the Future, who will happen next September, and it's beginning, but it's still going on. And negotiations about something called the Global Digital Compact. The Global Digital Compact is all discussions related to, let's say, digital aspects. Not especially before this creation, they were not especially speaking yet about AI, but now they are speaking about AI. Then the G7, so the 7 biggest let's say, economic powers in the Western, between brackets, world, released international guiding principles on AI and also a voluntary code of conduct for AI developers. You see that's also very, very recent, September 2023, of course. And so we instruct relevant ministers to accelerate the progress towards developing the Hiroshima AI Process Comprehensive Policy Framework. So with cooperation, and so here also it's to ref later discussions in the Global Partnership for Artificial Intelligence and also in the OECD. What can I say more? This text is not maybe less concrete. No, the text that I'm quoting now are less concrete than the text coming from the US President Biden. I will come back to this later. But they are, in my opinion, all positive, because opening the discussion in an interesting and in an interesting way, and with many interesting people. Okay, now until now I was speaking about texts who are already final text. Now I'm speaking about two texts who are not final. So the most important is the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act. So the European Parliament adopted what they call a negotiating position in June 2023. How can I explain that? The European political world is more complicated than the US political world, at least for the decisions. So the decisions are made it not only by the European Parliament, but also by two other European institutions. So they have what they call a trilogue, so a dialogue with the three institutions, and it's only when there is an agreement between all these political actors that there is a final text. And this is probably a problem of this EU AI Act, that it takes time. So they are discussing since now, I think about the first version of the text was probably begin 2023, and no, it's still not finished. And actually, in the first version of the text, there was not the third point that you see here, generative AI like ChatGPT. So the principles of the EU AI Act is that there is AI who is giving unacceptable risk. So it's too risky to accept, at least in the European Union. There is AI with high risk, and there is AI with limited risk. But this was before ChatGPT, and now they created a specific category for generative AI, because it can be good, it can be bad, but it's not. You cannot put it in one of these of the three categories. Then you have the Council of Europe. So the European Union, it's about it's 28 countries, and the Council of Europe, it's larger than 28 countries. And even if I'm not mistaken, Russia is there. I'm not sure anymore. Also, I'm sorry about that. I will check. So the Council of Europe has, I think they are observer. Okay, sorry. The Council of Europe has also a project of text concerning AI, and it's also a work in progress. So, and there you see the let's say the goal is to make a convention on artificial intelligence, human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. Okay, then the most important text and the best for me surprise is the Biden administration executive order on the safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of artificial intelligence. So this is really very, very recent, October 30, and so you have the reference still, like always, at the end of the page. And there are, it's a very long document with many things who are decided. So first, the general purpose is, so artificial intelligence holds extraordinary potential for both promise and peril. And so we need a society-wide effort that includes government, the private sector, academia, and civil society. And among other things, what they say, it is they want, the president wants within 270 days plan to understand and mitigate AI security risk. Then in a maximum of 180 days, ensure that foreign resellers of United States products verify the identity of any foreign person. So the goal there is to avoid that, let's say, dangerous AI can be sold outside of the US. Then there is a specific point, and I don't know precisely why, actually, what is the precise risk about this. So the risk of misuse of synthetic nucleic acids is there. And by the way, I take the opportunity of this part to say that in the text, there are also a few aspects concerning more, not only risk, but also hopes of scientific research, for example, so also for healthcare, so potentially for longevity. Okay, and this is actually also the one of the points. I will come back to this. This is, sorry, and this is the next point. Within 180 days to understand AI's implication for scientific research and to have a report on the potential role of AI. And somewhere in the text, at some place in the text, they speak explicitly about healthcare. Then there is advancing equity and civil rights and protecting consumers, patients, passengers, and students, and many other points that I don't have time to approach. So now China, since I don't speak any Chinese and most information online coming from China is in Chinese, I didn't have time to find, let's say, the official text, but it is important to know that China is working also a lot concerning the, let's say, the risk of artificial intelligence. So you have there a quote from Carnegie Endowment Organization. And also you have, second paragraph, a recent declaration of the Chinese UN ambassador, who said that China supports a central coordination role of the UN in establishing guiding principles for AI. This is for me a good surprise. Of course, it's not because China is saying that they are really thinking that. That's another question. But still, this is positive to see that officially, at least, they want the UN really playing a role for controlling artificial intelligence. Okay. Then just to say that there are many initiatives concerning AI, the governance of AI, and I don't have time to speak about all, and I didn't have time to look at all the available texts, but you have also, for example, at the the level of the World Economic Forum, at the level of the UNESCO, of course, you have big tech companies. Yeah, so that's not all. Now, I want to say a few words about text and initiatives from private organizations. The first one, well, I suppose all of you, or most people listening here, know about the letter that was written by the Future of Life Institute already more than 6 months ago, calling for a pause for 6 months concerning, let's say, in short, the idea was to ask not to go further than GPT-4, at least before that we control, because there could be a catastrophic risk. But also the same organization, the Future of Life Institute, gave a recommendation for the summit, and I like them very much. So I will read, the most important points. So they say that the things that the summit should not do is letting tech companies write the legislation. So it has to be with consultation of tech companies, but not with authorization of tech companies. Not work West versus China, and there was a success because China was involved during the London summit. And maybe the most important thing, not to focus only on existential threats, so long-term threats, and also not to focus only on current events. Sorry, because let's say there is kind of, at least in Europe, I don't know in the US, but at least in Europe, there is kind of left-right opposition. People on the left side think that there is no risk, no existential risk, only social risk, and people on the right side think more about existential risk and less about social risk. Okay, and they were proposing 3 objectives. One, a common understanding of how dangerous AI is AI. Then really make the global nature of the AI challenge explicit. So recognizing that all of humanity has a stake in this issue and that it's implicitly an existential risk, and embrace the need for urgent government intervention, including through hard law. And this is not the case yet, except from Biden. Then maybe because this is one of the, let's say, the big questions. I will come to the big questions after this, but there is a statement from Ben Goertzel, member of the board of Humanity Plus and one of the most active transhumanists for AI for longevity and also for AI in general. And he thinks that trying to ban or constrain AI development is counterproductive and ridiculous. And he says also somewhere there, I think that it's dangerous not to use open source. Where is that? It seems to me the most okay. Fund and promote development of open source decentralized AI rather than narrower corporate, military, or intelligence agency goals. So he is insisting about the fact that it should be open AI. Then also very interesting is the fact that there was a poll very recently concerning at the British level concerning AI in general. There are many questions, but I took only the 2 last questions. Would you support or oppose the introduction of an international treaty to ban any smarter than human AI? And there is a very large majority in favor of this. So we can discuss later, do we think that it's a good idea or a bad idea, but at least it's a very clear opinion of the citizens. And by the way, probably the opinion of the citizens is more in favor of controlling and using AI than I think the opinion of the political leaders at the moment. And would you support or oppose the introduction of an international treaty? Sorry, I copy paste two times the same. So I will share maybe at one moment. I'm sorry. There was another question, a kind of similar question, but not exactly the same, of course. Sorry. No, the big AI questions at the international level, in my opinion, are the following one. First one, what would be the best international institutions for AI risk management? And my provisional, I insist, my provisional answer is in an ideal world, we should have a body with a body for control of AI, similar to the CERN for the research aspect concerning risk and hopes, similar to the International Atomic Energy Agency for the control aspect, and similar to the International Criminal Court for the sanction aspects. And there are people proposing similar things. Should international research be open source or restricted or even secret to reduce the risk? My provisional answer is unfortunately, because usually I'm in favor of everything concerning open source, but unfortunately for me, it would be difficult to have this totally open, but what could be possible is to have it totally patent-free. Then the next question is how to involve China, but we are in the good way. How to involve Russia, not easy, and how to control the risk of potential rogue states through, international organizations. I don't have the answer ready. Then should we try to delay or even to prevent general AI? So you saw the opinions of the general public. And on the contrary, should we accelerate international research with cautionary measures? Okay. And maybe the last, but this is not a specific question concerning international aspects, but for me, this is still an important question to ask, is what do you think what would be the best AI to mitigate risk? Would it be a conscious AI or not? And would it be something almost human? Do we have to find let's say, human-like AI, or in the other way, something without any feeling, because the risk of mistakes are less important? Okay, that's it. Sorry for the typos, sorry for my French accent, and thank you for the discussion.
Yes, thank you very much, Didier, for a most informative overview, a thorough and objective look at the various policy-related developments, as well as public opinion statements from private organizations, AI researchers, and a broad variety of outlooks on the future of AI, as well as the scope of desirable regulation and oversight, if any. And there are many questions that arise out of this. I was interested in hearing more of your perspectives on open source AI development. You stated you don't believe that it should be completely open source, that there should be some degree of secrecy involved. So I'd be interested in hearing you delineate that a bit. And furthermore, I'm interested in getting your thoughts on the Biden administration's executive order and whether you think that would hamper open source AI initiatives through the reporting regime that would be instituted, which seems to favor large companies with a kind of centralized reporting infrastructure, because reporting information at that level of detail would be time-consuming and expensive. So what are your thoughts on those issues?
Yeah, it's, I said it, I am normally always in favor of open source development, especially concerning sharing of knowledge. The problem here is if we have a possibility to have general artificial intelligence soon, and many people think that there is this possibility, it is difficult to let's say it could be very dangerous if it is possible for everybody to create it. So that's kind of a very complicated question, because you have there a contradiction between our, let's say, usual principles and the fact that it's dangerous. It's like, if you have, let's say, okay, let's say nuclear weapons would be very easy to build. Do we have to make it possible to build it in an easier way just by making it open source or not? That's the question. And I don't have the final answer, but yeah, that's the question. And then for the same reason, yes, there is a risk with the with what's happening at the US level, that there is more control of, let's say, all AI organizations to limit the risk. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, how can I say that? Once again, there are many things I have kind of a very clear opinion. Here, I really don't have a very clear opinion. And one of the problems is, of course, one of the very big problems is concerning general artificial intelligence. There is a risk that we have only one chance, one opportunity to make a mistake. There is no second chance. So if we destroy ourselves, we destroy ourselves.
Yes, thank you, Didier, for that response. And it brings up some relevant viewer comments as well. So Superfin Guy has wondered, what are these risks of AI that policy makers are particularly focused on? And he also notes that nuclear weapons are not easy to build, and it's actually well documented online how they could be built, and yet we don't really have any known instances, for instance, of terrorist organizations or even really a lot of so-called rogue states other than perhaps North Korea constructing nuclear weapons. So there are barriers that exist there, even though a lot of the fundamental principles of how to design nuclear weapons are publicly available and can be searched for. Now, with artificial intelligence, in addition to possible risks, there exist tremendous benefits. And a lot of the documents that you cited acknowledge those benefits and the intent to harness those benefits while mitigating the risks. And that, in my view, seems to be the fundamental difference between AI technologies and nuclear weapons, because really the potential for nuclear weapons is solely destructive. One could have civilian nuclear energy research, but that would be focused on entirely different technologies, and it's actually notoriously difficult to convert nuclear weapons into civilian nuclear energy or vice versa. So one could pretty much say nuclear weapons are focused entirely on destruction, and any limitations on the ability to develop nuclear weapons would solely be beneficial because they would limit destructive potential. But with AI, there's also this tremendous positive potential that we want to see realized. So where do you stand on the scope of the risks versus the benefits, and the extent to which an open source approach could enable the benefits to be developed faster and made available more widely to the public?
Well, first, first concerning nuclear weapons, I gave this example if it was easy to create nuclear weapons. But I know that at the moment it's still something very complicated. And also, I would say, for me, it's kind of a mystery that indeed they were never, except in the case of, well, they were never, except in the case of a few states, because it was not only not only North Korea, but also India, Pakistan, Israel, South Africa, who were creating, or at least probably creating, nuclear weapons. But still, it was never tried, for example, by a terrorist organization. I don't know exactly why. Okay, now coming, and also I don't know exactly why, but one of the reasons is because it's not easy at all, even if you have the technical information. Now, coming back to your question, that's totally for sure that artificial intelligence and developing artificial intelligence is useful, but that's not totally sure that developing general artificial intelligence will be useful. So you know that there are quite a few people, and among them a few transhumanists, who, for example, Nick Bostrom, founder of the World Transhumanist Association, one of the founders, who think that the risk that general artificial intelligence could be the end of humanity is not a small one. So once again, if there is this risk concerning, and if open source is accelerating artificial general intelligence, it could be dangerous. But on the other side, if general artificial intelligence is possible, what we have to accelerate, especially, is all aspects concerning safety. And for this, open source can be useful. So once again, this is a fundamental problem, but I don't have a final answer. And I would say I would like to hear about the four people here and others. What is their opinion? Let's consider for the sake of the argumentation two things. First, it is possible to create AGI, and second, it is going to go faster if we have open source. If those two things are correct, do you think that we should restrict or not?
Yes, indeed. I think those would be great questions to address. So if you're watching the video, please put your comments in the chat. We already have a few comments that we can examine here. First, on the subject of nuclear weapons creation, Mike Lazine points out it's not cheap or easy to gain the necessary materials. And Super Thin Guy points out you need very expensive centrifugal machines for nuclear weapons creation. Super Thin Guy also expresses the perspective that we need higher intelligence rather than less intelligence, and Mike Lazine agrees. So he thinks that it's a bad idea to restrict the ability of sentient artificial general intelligence to emerge. He thinks that sentient AGI that does not surpass humanity would not aid in humanity's progress with getting things done faster. So he thinks that we are experiencing an intelligence bottleneck, that there are certain problems that solely human level intelligence cannot solve. It is quite possible that longevity is one of those areas where if we use human level intelligence alone, there's only so far that we could go because of the complexity of the human organism, various biological processes within it. Of course, there can be multiple points of view, multiple outlooks on what level of complexity we really need to fathom in order to overcome the degenerative processes that bring about biological aging. But it's worthwhile to consider the possibility that we might need some sort of superhuman intelligence level in order to really extend maximum human lifespans. And Mike Lezine states that he supports human-like and conscious AI. He also thinks it's important to try to prevent the human-like AI from falling into the so-called uncanny valley if it has an android shell or an avatar-like shell. And the uncanny valley is essentially that segment of technological development where something begins to look human-like but not quite. So, for example, you could have an animated character that's very stylized and is intended to represent a human, but everyone knows that that's an animated character, like a cartoon character. And nobody is really bothered by that. Or you can have some representation of a human that's very photorealistic and can replicate a lot of the human expressions, or even an actual photograph or video. Nobody's really bothered by that. But there's this intermediate level where you could have a human-like image or video that's almost realistic, but not quite. And there could be like gestures that are off, or aspects of the face that are off. And that's called the uncanny valley. And that's where people think this is unsettling in some way. So Mike Lezine is trying to say we should try to prevent AI from being in that intermediate area where it's almost human-like but not quite, and it makes strange departures from human-like characteristics. Though I wonder how feasible would it be to prevent that uncanny valley. Alan Crowley raises an interesting question. Do we ever discuss the risks of human intelligence seriously? So that's a good point, because even human intelligence can be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we use our intelligence to solve problems. On the other hand, human intelligence has been used to devise ways of doing harm as well. So nuclear weapons is an example of a deleterious use of human intelligence, or say medieval torture machinery. And it is astonishing to me that technologies of torture and execution were developed centuries before any sort of seriously effective modern medicine. So we do need to watch out for abuses of human intelligence. On the other hand, we haven't had anybody seriously make the proposal of restricting how intelligent humans can be. And we generally acknowledge that the more intelligent people are in general, the better off societies will be, the more enlightened kinds of policies we will be able to pursue. So could that also be the case with AI? That we do have some risks from AI being misapplied, but on the whole, with more intelligence within our societies, within our governments, within our decision making, we will actually be better off on net. So those are some of the perspectives that we have thus far, and they are coming in as well. So Mike Lezine wonders, can open source be open source and still controlled or regulated, like open source AI systems that are open for military scientists only? Superfin Guy thinks that the open source community could bring competitive artificial general intelligence to the masses. Otherwise, it will only be available to corporations and governments. So those are some interesting suggestions as well. Didier, what would you like to say as to the comments submitted thus far?
Maybe I will react directly concerning the last comment. So that AGI should be available to everybody and not only to big corporations. So yeah, of course, for me, this is very important that artificial intelligence is not only for, let's say, rich people and for big companies. That's why I said I don't have a final opinion concerning open source artificial intelligence, but I have a final opinion concerning patents, and concerning the fact that the sharing of scientific knowledge, when it is not dangerous, must be for everybody. Now, how can I say that concerning the risk that we have? Yeah, nobody was ever proposing to, let's say, make human beings less intelligent, because intelligent human beings can be dangerous also. Yes, okay, I agree. But if we have artificial general intelligence really a lot more powerful than humans, even if this artificial intelligence is, let's say, as benevolent as possible. You have this sentence, power, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's something like power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So let's imagine that you have all the power of the world, you can do everything, and are you sure yourself that you are never going to abuse it, like against your worst enemy, or because you get mad, or, well, if you have absolute power, you tend to abuse it. That's one of the aspects. And then there are all questions related to if there is general artificial intelligence, we are totally enabled to control it. So once again, for some people, it will probably destroy us. For many people, the risk that it destroys us is quite serious. And for the majority of citizens, that's something new. It's very clear that it's very dangerous. Yeah, that's something I heard quite a few times the last weeks while listening to discussions concerning AGI. That's, yeah, when you ask to, let's say, the normal citizens, if it is possible to make intelligence, artificial intelligence, more intelligent than humans, do we have to do it, or do we have to stop as long as possible? The immense majority of people say stop, so, and maybe that's not so, that's not okay. Maybe that is kind of how do you say that, let's say popular intelligence, or I don't know how to say that, but in French that's bon sens. Yeah, something that should be a no-brainer if we were not already involved so much that we don't think about it anymore. And what can I say more? Something concerning coming back to the question open source or not open source. I want to say that maybe one solution could be to say, okay, you have people working on AGI in a kind of restricted way, and people working on AGI in a kind of open source way. But for all of them, the international organizations and public organizations favor or oblige to think more about the risk especially the existential risk. It could be a way. And coming back to that, for me, the most positive aspect of what's happening the last weeks is that there is this perception in the, let's say, general political international world that artificial intelligence can be really very dangerous. And I know probably in the transhumanist community, like I see in the reactions here, there are people thinking, yeah, but okay, it's kind of a ludist reaction to be against and to be careful concerning AGI. But this time, I think there is a real risk, like many people.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah, and
Didier.
maybe one thing more. I know, because that's something many people say. Yeah, but concerning the risk, we said that already in the past. There were many people thinking that artificial intelligence can be very dangerous in the past, and until now they were wrong. Yes, but until now there was never an artificial intelligence, a general artificial intelligence bigger than human intelligence.
Yes, thank you for that commentary, Didier. And certainly there are many subjects we could explore there. I would like to follow up on your comment about Lord Acton's statement, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And there is, I think, a difference, a distinction between intelligence and power that I have often emphasized. So let me give you an example. One of the smartest humans who ever lived was Stephen Hawking. Certainly a brilliant scientist, but he was so paralyzed by ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which he lived with for more than 5 decades, which was remarkable in itself, that by the end of his life, he could only communicate with essentially a twitch of his lip that was able to translate his thoughts into a computer, and the computerized voice would read out his statements. So he was even only able to really communicate his intelligence with the aid of technology, but he had to have other humans who were much less intelligent than he was attend to his daily needs. And he was extremely vulnerable, of course. If anybody ever wanted to attack him, it would be very difficult for him to defend himself or escape. So my impression is, throughout humankind's history, intelligence has not equaled power. If you look at, for instance, a Paleolithic hunter-gatherer society, the most powerful humans were not the smart people. They were the big, burly cavemen who were able to wield large clubs and hit other humans over the head with those clubs. And throughout history, the people who rose to power in societies were not the smartest individuals. Whenever they happened to be reasonably intelligent, we had golden ages. So sometimes you would have like enlightened monarchs like Frederick the Great in Prussia or Joseph II in Austria as examples, or you had reasonably good presidents in the United States. Grover Cleveland is one of my favorites. But much of the time, the leaders were pretty mediocre. And sometimes they were horrible and incompetent and degenerate, and they caused a lot of trouble. But we have very rarely had philosopher kings or the smartest, the best, and the brightest in positions of leadership. So that's another piece of evidence that suggests to me that intelligence does not equal power. So what do you think of the possibility that if greater than human intelligence is developed, it might actually be really vulnerable? It might just be a magnified version of Stephen Hawking, and it would actually be tremendously fragile, and a human with a club would be a great threat. And that AGI would require a lot of protection. It wouldn't really be able to take over the world. It would exist at the mercy of humans and maybe offer assistance, but it would actually be more likely to be begging us to protect it from aggressive or Luddite humans rather than trying to institute any sort of replacement of humans with itself or of human authority with some sort of power that it would wield autonomously. So I'm wondering if you could explore that distinction between intelligence and power a bit.
I mean, I agree with you when the differences are not so big. I agree that, if you are a strong man, let's say with an IQ, IQ is, there are discussions concerning intelligence and IQ, but let's say, okay, with an average intelligence and a very clever other person, but very weak, okay, then it can be like you say, that it will be the stronger people who will be deciding. But I disagree when the difference of intelligence is very important. I mean, chimpanzees are much stronger than humans. The chimpanzee can kill a human without any problem. And of course, at the moment, the chimpanzees are not stronger than humans in daily life. So it's not here about general. It's not here about possible general intelligence who is a bit better than humans. It's about general artificial intelligence who would be order of magnitudes better and clever and more clever. So I don't agree, sadly, with your conclusion that it could be that general artificial intelligence would be, let's say, fragile, more clever than us, but too fragile to dominate us. And in the world today, okay, let's say the most powerful people in the world are not people who are physically powerful. That's not anymore the case.
Yes. Well, it is true that the most powerful people today are not the physically strongest the way they would have been in the Paleolithic era, because there is a degree to which intelligence can help people gain power and influence. But what is interesting is there is not a linear correlation between intelligence and power. The smartest people are not in charge of political systems. And I think the reason why is, in addition to some degree of intelligence, I do think leaders in most cases are of greater than average intelligence, but there has to be relatability to the general public, to the masses of humanity.
Well, they need, but that's kind of another question. They need also what's called emotional intelligence, and also quite often what we don't consider as qualities, like to be able to be always positive and presenting what they are doing great, and what the others are doing stupid and so on. So it's not only intelligence, of course, but that's another question for me.
Yes, and Alan Crowley agrees with you. He also writes that there's an element of emotional decision making. People follow those who resonate with them. But I think there's also a moral dimension to consider. And one of the possibilities is greater intelligence could at least be correlated with greater morality, or the ability to derive universalizable moral insights. Daniel Tweed writes that those wielding power will tend to do more and more corrupt and dangerous things to keep it, at least at the current levels of intelligence, where people who have power might be desperate to hold on to it because of the advantages it brings. But Super Fin Guy wonders, will an AGI be more sensible and moral than humans? So perhaps an AGI might say, well, why do I need that kind of power, the more destructive kind of power, if I can do good without it? So what do you think of the possibility that this intelligence could be associated with greater morality, and as a result, it wouldn't approach questions of power in the same way that humans would?
Okay, three aspects to this question. The first one, yes, it could happen, but we are not at all sure it will happen. And once again, for me, it's fascinating that the best specialists of AI in the world totally diverge about what's going to happen concerning general artificial intelligence. You have people like Yann Lequin saying there is a French guy from Facebook, there is absolutely no risk to Eli, say to be the last name. Sorry, I forgot.
Eliezer Yudkowsky.
Yudkowsky, sorry, saying that it's almost sure that it will that it will be bad end. Okay, but so it could be that way, but it's not sure that it will be that way because of one, what we discussed already, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Also, because if you create an artificial intelligence, a general artificial intelligence with a goal, whatever the goal, one of the intermediate goal will almost certainly be don't be stopped. And this goal of don't be stopped could have for consequence to destroy humanity because humans can be tempted to stop artificial intelligence. That's one of the very often quoted reasons why AGI could be dangerous. Also, there is, but okay. Also, there are other reasons, but I mean, there are people who are more specialized than I am to speak about this. So I will stop there. But and maybe I would try to come back to let's say the main reason for this this discussion. It was about what do we think would be the best way of would be the best way to have an international governance of artificial intelligence. And maybe since I said more or less what I was thinking, Gennady, you can say what you think about that.
Yes, thank you, Didier. And I do have a lot of sympathy with Ben Goertzel's statement that you cited. Also, our viewer Twin Soltero brought up a statement from Tom Ross, our U.S. Transhumanist Party 2024 presidential candidate, who has said on many occasions, the smarter AI gets, the kinder it becomes. So my general approach to AI governance is to say we actually should fear the smart AI systems of the future less than the narrower AI systems that are more widely in use today. That's not to say there aren't any risks of AI, but I am more concerned about humans misapplying AI to specific decisions that could unfairly disadvantage other humans. And I think the Council of Europe framework that you discussed, Didier, is an interesting one in that it outlines essentially degrees of danger from various AI systems. And I do think it's important to emphasize not every AI system is the same, and not every AI system poses the same level of risk. But I would say the greatest risk comes from, for instance, autonomous killing machines, AIs that are intentionally designed to target adversaries in war or target criminals without human oversight or intervention. So the US Transhumanist Party, for example, supports the campaign to ban autonomous weapons. I think it's called the campaign to ban killer robots. And I think it's very important not to give AI the intentional power of life and death over human beings. Then also, there is the danger of having some sort of AI mediated or AI run social credit scoring system, or some sort of system that financially penalizes people or deprives them of access to certain goods and services based on the results of an AI algorithm. Because one, the AI algorithm could be flawed. Two, we could strongly disagree with the criteria that the human developers of those AI algorithms would set. But I think generative AI systems like ChatGPT or DALL-E, now there's DALL-E 3, by the way, which is a significant improvement over its predecessor DALL-E 2, or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, those systems that allow people to create content are less dangerous because there's more optionality to it. So people can choose how they interact with those systems and whether or not they use or rely on their outputs. And I, of course, recognize those systems are not perfect. They have flaws, but we have enough rationality to discern those flaws. And furthermore, interacting with those systems helps us to discover our own unique human advantages. So I've generated a lot of pictures of buildings, for instance, and I find that even the best generative AI systems are not that great at symmetry and not that great at representing the elements of those buildings in a purposeful way. Like, you find the windows are sometimes fuzzy, or they're asymmetrical, or they might have certain decorative elements that it would make no sense for a window to have. And there could be some chaotic elements to a digital painting that are there just because they're correlated with millions of other images, but the AI doesn't really understand the purpose of those elements. So I think this understanding of purposeful order is a distinctly human characteristic. And the AIs can be very creative, but actually drawing something with perfectly rectangular windows is more of a human skill set. Obviously, you can use digital tools for it, but human beings are much better than AI. Likewise, human beings are much better than AI at factual recognition and deep subject matter expertise. And I don't think that superior situation for human beings vis-a-vis AI is going to go away anytime soon. So I think the generative AI systems are actually a lot safer than many people believe, and they're definitely not going to bring about the end of humankind. I also think that optional uses of AI, for instance, for marketing or suggesting content to people, are less concerning than social credit score type uses, because again, people can opt out. If I see an ad, I'm not necessarily going to click on that ad. I'm not necessarily going to purchase that product. It's just a suggestion. So the more human beings have discretion to not follow the suggestion of the AI, I think the safer that AI would be. And Mike Lazine points out that AI is taking artistic liberties like humans do. And yes, there are some remarkable creative aspects to what AI is able to produce. I would actually say creativity is not a uniquely human attribute, and generative AI has shown us this. But purposeful order is actually a more distinctively human type of faculty. And the generative AIs, interestingly enough, are, in my view, more similar to processes for generating, let's say, natural systems or environments. Like, these generative AIs are great at landscapes or at producing very compelling images of a sky, for example, because the processes followed are actually very similar, but they're less good at representing man-made structures. So the case that I would like to make is there are still some distinctive human advantages that AI will not do away with, but AI could complement and help us discover in certain ways. So those are my thoughts, but I'd be interested in your feedback, and then we could go to comments from Ben and Daniel as well.
Yeah, very interesting discussions, because we disagree for a part, but of course we agree for many things. And first, of course, we agree that it is quite important also to have positive actions concerning AI today, and also, and to avoid or to diminish social risk like those that you were quoting. And so AI at the moment can be very useful, but can be already very dangerous. But the difference for the future is, once again, for me, the fact that it could be so dangerous that it could be the end of the humanity. And one of the reasons is of one of the possibilities to for things to turn really in a very wrong direction is maybe what you were saying, that even now artificial intelligence is better than us in many aspects, but it's still not good in some aspects. It's not the case anymore, but with the beginning of DALL-E, you had hands with 6 fingers and so on, and you still have things less important, but still less good than with humans. But this is one of the risks. If one day you have general artificial intelligence who is better than humans for almost everything, but making a small mistake, destroying us, well, it will destroy us and it will be too late. And one of the things that people who are, I would say, who are speaking about this better than I do, one of the things that they say is human is incredibly fragile. So it is enough for a general artificial intelligence to make a small mistake somewhere, once again, to destroy us. And AI is still, in some aspect, incredibly stupid. And since it is still incredibly stupid for some aspect, it can be that it will still be the same when it is largely more intelligent than humans, and once again, that it could be very dangerous. I hope I was clear. If I was not clear, please listen to, I forgot the name, but there are many people for this. And something else where I disagree, you told us that this idea that, how was that? Oh, sorry, I forgot. But it was this idea that AI is kinder than before. So for me, with ChatGPT, it's not really the case. I mean, it's very clear that ChatGPT is, let's say, more intelligent than the other systems before, more dangerous than the other systems before, and can be, if there is no, let's say, if there is no system to care and to avoid bad actions of this intelligence, it's very clear that it can be dangerous already. And
yes,
maybe we will see the most dangerous aspects with the new system of Elon Musk, Grok, if there is no control by humans of the bad aspects.
Well, it's interesting that Elon Musk has actually been one of the people who has expressed some of the strongest concerns about AI existential risk, and one would think he would be interested in deploying some safeguards. But ChatGPT has numerous safeguards. For instance, it can't generate certain content, or as I found out in my experiments to see if ChatGPT would pass the Turing test, it can't even pretend to be a human. It keeps saying, well, as a large language model, I don't have a human body, etc., when I explicitly asked it to pretend to be human. And it very readily gave away the fact that it was an AI. So it seems possible to build constraints into AI systems, at least to hard code constraints that prevent them from behaving in certain ways. But one aspect about your comments that is interesting is that, yes, there is a possibility that AI could be highly intelligent in some areas, but completely miss aspects of intelligence in other areas. So, for instance, human intelligence prevents humans from, at least in most cases, maximizing certain attributes to the severe detriment of other humans. So, for instance, most of us would like to have more material well-being, but there are significant constraints as to how far we would go in improving our material well-being if it would involve damaging other people. And I think part of that is rational self-interest, because we know there would be adverse consequences to us in the long term. Even if we're not punished for it, we are still, for instance, depriving ourselves of opportunities for collaboration or mutual benefit if we harm other people in the process of trying to better our own position. So one would think, for instance, with an AI like the hypothetical paperclip maximizer, that it wouldn't just implement every possible means to maximize the number of paperclips in existence. There would be some logical and moral constraints that it would experience in order to say, well, yes, I want to create more paperclips, but not at all costs, not in every situation. There would be situations that would cause me to stop and not make more paper clips because it wouldn't make sense, or because it would damage other intelligent life forms. And one would hope that a system like that could be created with a lot of constraints of that sort. Mike Lazine writes, good point. Yes.
I stop you to say that, so implicitly, but certainly you admit that it could be dangerous if there are no constraints. So you admit that that general artificial intelligence could be very dangerous, if I understand you correctly, you know. So yes. then at that time, I think we agree. And once again, so my question now, well, the question that I'm happy that it's coming in the general international world is how to mitigate the risk, and how to invest more in a kind of an international movement, an international organization to make the risk less important. And I think for me, it should be something at the UN level, it should be something, like I said, one part would be a bit like the CERN, so a place where there is research. One part should be something like the International Atomic Agency to control, and one part should be like like an international tribunal to stop people to go in the bad direction if they are going in the bad direction. That's my kind of synthetic opinion, but yeah, I think we agree at the end. But to be honest, what I don't understand is there are a few people who say there is no risk at all for a general artificial intelligence. I know about people saying, for example, I'm not afraid of artificial intelligence. I'm afraid of human stupidity. So okay, it's a funny sentence, but still, I'm more afraid of a superhuman with bad intentions that with us, or even a superhuman. I'm more afraid of a superhuman than of a stupid human.
So I'm actually one of those people who is more afraid of stupid humans, because I think stupid humans have the potential to destroy our civilization right now with nuclear
Yes,
weapons. So I see that
that's so true. Yeah,
as
okay.
a present existential danger, whereas any dangers from super intelligent AI are in the future. So we have more of an ability to develop appropriate safeguards. And I do think there should be safeguards both in the design of AI systems as well as how humans approach them.
Can I say, yeah, there I agree with you, sadly, but also partly I disagree. I would say that's probably there that the risk of not general artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence progressing is the biggest, because you can the risk of having a nuclear war by mistake, let's say by technical mistake of AI, is probably higher than the risk of stupid people starting a nuclear war. Because stupid people starting a nuclear war, it's something technically possible since 60 years. It never happened. With super AI, yeah, the risks are big. But that's even more complicated than in the other systems to have a good solution, because of course we are not in charge. People in charge are not going to tell us and to ask our opinion and so on.
Yes, and I think that is also a problem, that people in charge do not really consult transhumanists or futurists. They have their own agendas. But I agree with you. AI should never be given sole control over weapons systems, period. There should always be a human decision maker who can veto any action of an AI system, and most importantly, who would need to affirmatively approve any decision to inflict destruction at any level. And
but the big problem of this, of course, is how better is the military and nuclear power, how short the time to react and so on, and how more useful in a military point of view it is to have better AI. So very, very worrying question. Yeah.
Yes, and it is troubling, especially in light of a comment that Alan Crowley made with regard to leaders who aren't particularly intelligent or the most intelligent, but who have a lot of power. He worked with many of those leaders in the military, so they do exist. And of course, contemporary leadership of major powers is deeply suboptimal, to say the least. I wanted to highlight one comment from Mike Lazine, and then perhaps we can go to Daniel. He writes, good points, Gennady. A lot of humans would love to have more wealth, and yet most of us rein ourselves in with not gaining wealth illegally. And I would hope that with genuine, greater than human intelligence, there would be a moral framework that those intelligence systems would follow, because at the point at which they're not mere narrow AIs, where they would be able to cross domains and really understand the subject areas that they're delving into, there would be an emergent moral system that would be based on rationality. And I think all moral systems that work, that are true moral systems as opposed to just dogmatic prescriptions, are based on objective truths about the external world and the consequences of certain decisions. So an AI that is genuinely of human level intelligence or greater should be able to arrive at that moral framework, particularly if it's helped by virtue of being programmed in ways that align with our moral objectives.
Yeah.
So now, okay, go ahead, Didier, and then we'll go to Daniel.
Just the big problem of that is how to tell to artificial. Okay, so we want, let's say, we want to create. Most of us want to create an if they want to create an artificial general intelligence, they want to create an artificial general intelligence who will be more intelligent than ourselves to decide what's good for us. Okay, the problem is we even don't know what is good for us. You know, it's a kind of what's your goal in the life? It's to be happy, but what is that to be happy? It's certainly not to be just eating great and having fun all the time. So, and it's very different from one citizen to another citizen, from one culture to another culture. So it's almost impossible to really know what is good for us. And so that's one more reason it's dangerous to ask artificial intelligence to decide for us. Yeah, but
Yes.
okay, I'm of course I'm exaggerating here. Just
yes, and there.
Well, it's useful to blow things out to the extremes sometimes, to do thought experiments to see, you know, like where they lead to. Didn't mean to cut you off, Gennady. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to comment. There are many different moral systems that various humans adhere to, and I think it would be difficult, to say the least, to reach universal agreement. On the other hand, in practice, we do agree, the vast majority of us do agree on, I would say, up to 99% of actual decisions, even though we may use different frameworks to justify them. For instance, most of us are not looting and rampaging and murdering when we go out in public, and the few who do are rightly condemned and met with outrage. Likewise, I can conceive of the vast majority of superintelligent AIs having moral frameworks that might differ from our own, but might be compatible in terms of coexistence. But there could be a few that are problematic because of how they're designed, or essentially their goals conflicting with ours. So that is a worthy subject of exploration. Now, one thing that Daniel suggested, which is quite interesting to explore, is that we could design experiments to test if an increase in smartness correlates with an increase in kindness. So Daniel, I'll open the floor to you if you would like to comment about that, or any of your other observations or questions regarding this discussion.
Oh boy, what a great discussion. Thanks everyone, Didier, for all the great analysis. I loved the Ben Goertzel observation that we are horrendously undereducated in the public sector on this topic. So a great education campaign on this topic of AI would be a good thing. Although, as we've observed earlier, we have a media system that's driven by spectacle rather than rationality. So these things don't make it on the radar screen of important topics for the public. But even though we don't have a strong handle on exactly what consciousness is, and it's like we're going to use AI to help it solve the problem of what consciousness is, perhaps. But we do need to probably slice and dice these questions into the social component and the existential component, because we've already seen deep fakes and all kinds of horrible manipulations of media that people are using in the social sphere. Now in the existential sphere, when we talk about questions of, very existence itself, I think they're going to converge eventually, the social and the existential. But we're ultimately on the same side with AI of being an extropian force. We have this great miracle of evolutionary progress and collaboration at the atomic and molecular level, and now that's moving to the informational digital level. So ultimately, I think we can make peace with AI and say, look, we're on the same side. We want to explore the universe and be curious about what's around us, and not let the light of consciousness go out, as Elon Musk has used that phrase. That we do want to become multiplanetary. Even if we don't figure out what consciousness is, we don't want to let that light go out. And I think AI will probably agree that we are fighting the same. We're on the same side against entropy as extropian actors. But also, it's important to note that in cybersecurity, you do constantly run these white hat, black hat kind of attack scenarios, where you've got the white hat, the good guy teams that are trying to keep the vulnerabilities nailed down. But the black hat attacks, they only need to find one vulnerability to slip past the firewall to basically bring the system down. So this is being exaggerated now by orders of magnitude in terms of the infrastructure of entropy and extropy, if you want to wage it in kind of that existential battle. But we do need to have AI help in this. AI, tell us how to protect us from these black hat augmented AI attackers. So yeah, those are just some of the thoughts that you provoked in me while I was listening. So this is a great topic to expand upon. And
Yeah.
pass the mic.
May I react?
Yes, go ahead.
I agree with many things, especially with when you said there is a social component and there is the existential components. Maybe I don't agree about, you implicitly say that general artificial intelligence would be conscious, and that's for me not sure at all. You can imagine, and that's maybe one of the most difficult things to imagine for everybody, is that you can have a larger intelligence than the human intelligence, but without any consciousness. And that's one of the reasons maybe it could destroy us, because it doesn't have a conscious goal. It has only kind of a logic, let's say, and this logic can be wrong. And this logic can be also, there is sometimes the term used is orthogonal. So it's okay. More intelligence doesn't mean necessarily more kindness, but here it's also that kindness, it's a concept where we almost need consciousness. Oh, my English is worse today than other days. Sorry.
Yeah, but also it calls up the idea that we're divinely created. We have a soul, and we can never create something else that's going to have a soul.
Yeah.
So there's going to be that argument from the faith community.
Okay, but I mean, it's not for sure that larger than human artificial intelligence and general artificial intelligence will be conscious. And another thing, but that's not related, probably we will never know, because already now we don't know if almost general artificial intelligence is conscious or not. There are some people who think it is already. Yeah, that's it.
Yes. I think this is a crucial question to explore, because I agree that intelligence and consciousness are not identical, and you could have intelligence without consciousness. You could also have consciousness without that much intelligence. So I think, for instance, a lot of the lower animals have some basic consciousness, even if it's like sensitivity to light, for instance, but they are aware of that light, and they may not be all that intelligent, though they do follow certain essentially biological programs that contribute to their survival. I think we deal with a lot of genuine artificial intelligence today in, for instance, the computer systems we interact with. I think a chess playing AI is really intelligent. I don't think it's conscious. I think DALL-E 3 or ChatGPT are intelligent. I don't think they're conscious. I don't think they have the ability to develop an emergent consciousness, because self-awareness requires certain biological structures or certain analogous structures that could potentially be artificially instantiated. But how is a question that is, of course, beyond my own technical expertise, but it is one that needs to be studied. I think it would be important, for instance, if there were artificial neurons that were developed, and if an artificial neuron could replace a biological neuron, would the ability to remain conscious essentially persist as more of these artificial neurons replace the biological neurons and presumably are able to do a lot of the same work, so that the human acts to an external observer in a very similar way. So, of course, the answers to those questions are not going to be firmly established on this salon, but I think it's worthwhile to have this discussion. I'd like to bring up a few other comments from our viewers, and then we will go to Ben as well for his thoughts. Siba Chamuza writes, "It is the global context that is essential. If it is conflictual, then the AI will be used to destroy. If it is peaceful and imbued with humanism, the AI will be used for human happiness." So he is emphasizing the importance of designing the AI systems correctly with the correct goals. Mike Lazine points out that he thinks some people are outraged when people act on the same base feelings that they have, but have more self-control. So among humans, there might be this kind of jealousy that even if other humans are aligned with them, they might be more effective because they can control their emotions to a greater extent and harness them toward positive ends. But it does seem to me that jealousy is a human attribute. It's not necessarily going to be an AI attribute. And in some ways, if it doesn't have some of the deleterious human emotions, AI might be more, let's say, ethical in practice, even if it doesn't feel kindness, even if it doesn't experience the world, just by not having the deleterious human attributes, it might actually do a better job at protecting sentient life than humans do. We have Crystal, who says intelligence and generosity are positively correlated. So it may not even be felt kindness, it could be behavior, generous behavior toward other intelligent entities that these super intelligent AI systems could deploy or exhibit. Twin Soul Tarot writes, "I think if we are going to align and work with AI, we need to put ineffectual emotions on the back burner and focus on governance based on logic and reasoning." And this I completely agree with. Any decisions in terms of policy and governance need to be made based on logic rather than impulse, rather than feelings of fear, for instance, or the worry that some people have that they would be displaced. There needs to be a very systematic, thoughtful, analytical approach toward benefits and risks, and considering not just the benefits and risks of action of deploying these AI technologies, but in accord with the proactionary principle articulated by Max Moore, considering the benefits and risks of the status quo, which also, of course, are significant, including with regard to existential risks that we face, say, from nuclear weapons that are overseen by human beings. And lastly, before we go to Ben, I would like to refer our viewers to the Transhumanist Bill of Rights, version 3.0, which actually tries to formulate an inclusive rights framework for sentient entities that could include artificial general intelligences in the future. And in particular, this rights framework is intended to essentially prevent some of the societal turmoil, some of the civil rights struggles that would arise otherwise if we don't have such a framework in place proactively. So now let us go to Ben Ballweg for his comments and questions.
I will start by saying that I really didn't know too much about AI and didn't focus too much on AI until I joined the Transhumanist Party. Like that Haley Joel Osment movie from like 20 years ago was about my familiarity with AI. So I guess I've kind of come around to the potential that AI offers for being able to have advances in longevity science. I did just post in our private chat, and I'm hoping, Gennady, you can share in the YouTube chat. There's this Emperor of All Maladies book that's kind of like the history of cancer. And toward the end of the book, this is about 5 years since I listened to this book, I think my impression was that in order to beat cancer, just the science needs to be done ad nauseum to figure out all the different ways that cancer must be handled to be beaten. And I guess I feel like longevity would be a very comparable realm, that just throw all the computing power that we possibly can muster at both cancer and longevity to hopefully get there. And I guess before joining the Transhumanist Party, I think I was like, just have all the researchers doing what they can and more money for researchers. But if AI and such computational power can be employed and developed safely to get us there quicker, yes, by all means. So that's my little bit of AI perspective in general. Yeah, I guess I had one question for you that you haven't already answered. How do you feel, how mature do you feel the perspectives are that went into crafting these documents by these various governmental and non-governmental organizations? Do they have a good grasp of what's going on in the AI realm, or are you kind of like, boy, they're sure they don't get it? I don't know where they're coming from with this. They might just be answering to their very fearful constituents, or I don't know. How do you think they were written, and how would you maybe have improved on how they were written? Other than, I really like your framework of that 3-part, like have it the CERN, the IAEA, and the third for how to best address AI. But what other perspective in general did you have for how well those documents were written?
Well, I think quite good. I think that generally, like I said already, since a few months, and probably first thanks to ChatGPT that now everybody can use, and so politicians were using also and seeing the positive and negative aspects. And thanks to the open letter of the Future of Life Institute that had really very big impact, I have the impression that, well, I don't always agree with the proposals, and yeah, Gennady and we don't always agree neither. I mean, but I had not this, feeling listening to the people, to the politicians, but there are not so many, but let's say the people responsible working there. I didn't read something. I was thinking, oh, this is totally stupid. This is somebody who doesn't understand. So sometimes I disagree, but not, I think this is stupid. So this is thanks to the probably thanks to the Future of Life Institute, thanks to people thinking on the long term. So among other things, among other people, transhumanist people. So thanks to, for example, Nick Bostrom. Yeah. That's does this answer to your question, or is there something? Yeah, but I have to read it more because the text of Biden is 6 days old, and the declaration is 5 days old. Concerning the negative aspect, I am surprised that at least at the young American level, it seems that politicians don't react to this very important document. Not on the left side, not on the right side. As far as I know, of course, I first follow the European political activity, but I was surprised for this. So I would say positive. What is maybe less positive is that it's only a small group. I mean, a very high-level group, but a small group of people who seem to be reacting. But okay, for me, the situation now is really far better than the situation was just 2 weeks ago.
Yes, indeed.
No, this is another discussion, and this is one of my favorite subjects. But we have to be aware of the fact that we are in a general situation where there are incredibly fast progress concerning AI, incredibly fast progress concerning many technologies. There are progress concerning medical science, and still people live today less long and very probably less happy than they were before COVID times, and not only because of COVID, but because of all things following COVID. So things are going, for me, clearly in the good direction concerning AI and concerning trying to mitigate the risk related to AI, but that's not enough.
Yes, and I certainly hope that AI can be harnessed to effectuate improvements in human longevity. Our friend John H. brought up the protein folding problem and the ability of AlphaFold, which is an AI system that was developed by Alphabet's DeepMind that was able to essentially contribute tremendously towards solving that problem, which had been worked on for over a decade by a distributed network of computers, just ordinary computers owned by humans. And that approach wasn't able to go as far as the AI-based approach. So there is some hope in these powerful AI systems being able to solve these problems. But please continue.
Yes, maybe because we are speaking about this. So HEALS is, just for information and my own advertisement publicity. HEALS is supporting a project called Longevity GPT. I will put the link online if you are not doing that before me, Gennady. You can understand what it is with the name. It is for research for longevity using GPT and putting in the system many scientific articles, and also, if possible, many health data, and then using that for scientific research. So I totally agree. One of the important aspects concerning AI is healthcare, especially longevity, of course. And also, I think, but it's not enough, but I think giving to AI and to a potential artificial general intelligence as the goal, human longevity and human resilience, is something that is diminishing the risk, the existential risk, you know, because it's not like, to be alive or not to be alive is something a bit subjective, or a bit not very clear. but it's a lot more clear than, for example, to be happy or not to be happy, and to be moral or not to be moral. Yeah. So
Yes.
one of the reasons is it should be absolutely clear for an artificial general intelligence that we have to be kept alive and in good health and so on.
Yes,
I
indeed.
also want to react to what Dan said just 10 minutes ago about I like white hat, black hat. So you need only one black hat to destroy what white hats were doing. And once again, this is especially true with general artificial intelligence, because even if you have, let's say, 20 systems of general artificial intelligence, but only one killing everybody, it's enough to kill everyone, once again.
Yes, and one would hope that the instances of good AGI, as well as well-intentioned developers of AGI, would overpower the instances of bad AGI or nefarious developers of AGI. But I agree, it's not a foregone conclusion. It's not a guarantee that that kind of outcome will occur.
Sorry, one thing more where I totally agree with, I don't know, I think it was you, Gennady. So general artificial intelligence is for me, and I think for all of us, certainly a risk, but we have also existential risk without general artificial intelligence. And the first one is nuclear war, but there are many others, and the global warming is not on a short term an existential risk, but can be one in the long term, and so on. So the fact that it is dangerous, we must keep also in mind that not doing things is also dangerous. Yeah, and as a transhumanist, it should be a no-brainer, but that's true that I was forgetting about this.
Yes, absolutely. And the proactionary principle, which is core to the thinking of many transhumanists, definitely emphasizes that we need to look at benefits and risks in a more comprehensive way, both the benefits and risks of any particular action, as well as the benefits and risks of the status quo of not doing anything. And sometimes the risks of the status quo are the greatest of them all. I have stated in prior virtual Enlightenment salons that I believe humankind is going through a great filter right now where existential risks are heightened, and the duration of the great filter is likely to be approximately between November 2019 and March 2025. Obviously, these are approximate time frames and others may disagree, but I do think we are right now in the existentially riskiest general period of time in human history.
Why March 25?
I would say that is a subject that's addressed in my presentation, Passing Through the Great Filter, How Are We Doing?, which I encourage people to look up. But that's generally the time frame when I think we have a chance to overcome the deleterious effects of the COVID pandemic as well as the war in Ukraine. So if the consequences of those two cataclysms subside, then we might revert to a period of lower existential risk.
Yeah.
I also wanted to bring up one comment from Twin Soltero about our presidential candidate Tom Ross's book to enlist AI in the fight against child exploitation. So I would encourage people to look up the US 6 Hexology by Tom Ross. And with that, we have about a minute remaining in our salon. So I would invite Didier to offer any closing statements about this conversation or anything else that you would like to say.
So I want to say that it is positive that there is no the world community thinking about AI, thinking about general artificial intelligence. And since people like the transhumanists are thinking about those questions since long, we have some small utility, and what we can do is push for scientific research, general research concerning especially the risk, but also the positive aspects. And in the positive aspects, there is first all questions related to longevity, but also other transhumanist questions. We didn't speak about this, but asking to artificial intelligence and to a potential general artificial intelligence to make humans even more sentient, and so I don't find the word, even more able to care about each other, even more compassionate, could be one of the ways to maybe to diminish the risk. That's it.
Yes, thank you very much, Didier, for those comments. And indeed, let us hope that the beneficial applications of AI can bring out the best in our humanity. In the words of Daniel Tweed, our governance needs to go from binary to brainy, which I think is quite well put. And also, our friend Alan Crowley, thank you to you for your generous contribution. He has some good words for Didier. And I would echo Alan in also saying, live long and prosper.